Steve, my good man, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, fella. How are you?
I'm actually pretty good now. I woke up this morning, and as you and I have been discussing, Steve, the world's shit at the moment. So I woke up this morning and was doom scrolling as I tend to do. I watched the news, I got a bit upset about it, and then I clicked onto Facebook and I found that Adriano had linked us to a wonderful website that I'd never been on before called Human Rights Watch. This whole website is just about human rights abuses across the world. So I started reading that, got very upset, and then just closed my computer. Bearing in mind I'd woken up this morning and I was prepped to do a shitload of work. The coffee was ready. I had all my writing in front of me. I was just going to power out. I was planning on doing like 2 days work today so I could spend some time off over the weekend. And after being on this Human Rights Watch website that Adriano is kindly sent to us, I decided that today was too hard. So I walked into the garden, had a beer, and then went out for a walk. And that's kind of been my day, really, just walking.
Nice. Like it.
Yeah, I do feel better for it, to be fair.
A day well spent outside is a good day.
Exactly. How did you spend your birthday, Steve?
We chilled at home. Couldn't really do much with the boys because we're still in lockdown. We had some building work going on in the house.
Oh yes, you're in light again. I can see you once more.
Yes, my lights are not trying to burn the house down. That has been fixed. There's some lovely choice holes in the ceiling which have been filled, and I'm back in the conservatory. That was it really. Ate a lot of cake. We got a monster cake. Yeah, just generally chilled.
Good stuff. Yeah, I was very impressed with the cake. You sent me a picture of that, and it's one of the most delicious looking cakes I've seen in quite a long time, actually.
It's pretty damn big. When you've got to take a shelf out of the fridge to get it in, you know it's pretty big.
That's fair.
Yeah, so spent my day chilling at home with the family, eating cake, having a few beers, and really looking forward to the prospect of doing a skydive, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just quite looking forward to seeing a video of you do the skydive.
I think the faces I'm going to be making are going to be quite choice. I am really stoked about that. I've wanted to do one for ages. Yeah, I was supposed to do it last Friday, but Bozza put a stop to that. Twat.
Yeah, well, let's not get into that again.
Let's not go there. No, let's not go back to that conversation. So Good Friday is the day now. I shall be plummeting towards the ground.
Nice. And what is terminal velocity of a human being in skydive, Steve? How fast will you be travelling?
Somewhere in the region, I believe, around 150, but then I'm going to have a dude strapped to my back.
Oh, well, are you sure that's the skydive still we're talking about here?
Well, that's a different nightclub in town.
Just Steve hanging out in the loft.
The loft.
Okay, so it's around 125 to 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, so I should be screaming my head off on the way down.
That's pretty quick, man. There's very few occasions I've travelled that fast, and never travelled that fast with like air hitting me.
That was going to be quite entertaining. I'm looking forward to it, and like Sarah and Mother have even paid for it to be videoed, so there will be footage.
That's what I'm talking about, mate. I'm looking forward to the footage. I'd like to see all your good faces cut up into just a quick, like, I don't know, minute clip or something of just you just screaming and pulling various faces.
I am pretty stoked. I'm sure it's going to be one of those days where I'm going to arrive and be like white as a ghost and numb.
Yeah, I'm just feeling really sick.
Yeah, basically. I need a pee. You just had one. No, I need another one.
That would be you when you're in the air. I can't jump. I really need a wee.
Yeah. You can't piss on the way down. What?
I'm sure the man behind you would be livid if you just started pissing as you were like just flying down.
In my drunken state the other night, my train of thought went, he's strapped behind someone. I wonder how many times he's been puked on.
Oh, that's a really good question. I wonder if that is a thing.
It must happen. It's got to happen. The nerve's got to hit someone. Your head's right in front of his. I reckon he's been sprouted on a few times.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of anyone throwing up after they've jumped out of a plane, to be fair. I feel like that's one of the things that might happen before you jump, but then maybe once you've jumped, like your body is just like, fuck knows what we can possibly do here. Vomiting isn't going to help. Let's just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, but let's just go with it. I did speak to a guy at work today who said his brother-in-law passed out on the way down.
Ooh, that's a scary one.
Yeah, apparently landed as well, like passed out. And the dude, because you're supposed to pick your legs up so you don't snap your legs.
Yeah.
and the guy basically behind him had to sort of roll them forward on their stomachs.
Wow, I'd be raging if I passed out after dropping a load of money on a skydive.
If I pass out, I'm going to slap myself and go back for another go.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be well annoyed. So it's funny as well. You talk about him like not being able to land properly and falling over as he landed. I've got a bum leg. I did parapenting in France a few years ago. So you're just running and jumping off a mountain, not like base jumping, but you've got a guy strapped to your back. The parachute's already up, and you just run until it fills with air, and then you just like glide down, basically. But because I've got a bum leg, obviously I can't run. I'm incapable of running. And he said to me, he was very French. I'm not going to try and do the accent, but he said to me, when we hit the ground, you've got to run. And I was like, I can't run. And he just laughed, and then we went. So I was like, I spent the whole way down being like, fuck, he thinks I was joking, but I literally cannot run. So when we hit the ground, I tried to move my legs quickly. Obviously it didn't work. I tumbled and he just teabagged me in the back of the head and he tumbled over the top and we just ended up in this knotted up ball of legs, arms and parachute cables, like just in this field with like an entire French family just in their back garden, just giving us a really funny look. He was livid. He was absolutely livid with me. We got in the car and he just wouldn't talk to me at all.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I bet he called you everything.
I'm sure he did. He spent a lot of time saying French things at me.
I bet he did.
So I think he was probably raging.
He was giving you some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. I don't know what the French is for Englishmen, but I'm sure there's a lot of putain in there.
Oh dear. Anyway, Steve, shall we dive into the show?
Yeah, you might have to give me a minute to compose myself. But...
Well, that's fine, Steve. We'll dive in. You'll have an intro to get yourself sorted and ready to talk. So let's go.
I realise I should have not hit this whiskey so hard.
Oh dear, it's going to be one of those. I'm on the beer as usual. I was feeling pretty knackered earlier, so I had a couple of coffees, but spiked them both with rum. So I'm feeling a bit merry now. We'll see how this one goes, eh? This might end up just being the two of us drooling on the floor by the end of the show.
Oh, it's good job I'm not recording or doing a live. That'll just be a picture of my floor.
Exactly. Right, let's go for it, Steve.
Let's go. I'm going to put that whiskey down.
Okay, I'm Tim. He's Steve. And this is for the love of MotoGP. So, Steve, this week we saw, last week really, we saw the last 3 days of testing.
We did.
Which we will be diving into through the show. We'll talk about what we saw in those, who did what, blah, blah, blah. Sort of pretty much like we did last week, but we'll just talk about it some more. But before we get into that, we have got a few bits of news to talk about. Let's start off with the sort of related, sort of not, but sad news about the passing of Murray Walker, famous for being the voice of Formula One, and for a generation of motorsport fans would have been the motorsport commentator. He wasn't just Formula One, but that is what he's most well known for.
Yeah, bless him. Big loss. Absolute big loss.
Yeah, but he had a good innings. 97 years old.
I didn't realise he was that old.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't commentated on a Formula One race since the early 2000s.
No. Such a big loss. Anyone like him in the motorsport world, doesn't matter if it's bikes, cars, it is a huge loss. Wherever you go, that some people are just, we've said this before, synonymous with the sport, but he just sort of transcended that, and it was just like Murray Walker, Formula One commentator, Murray Walker.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to some I was going to say some grown-ups, because I'm obviously still a child. No, I was talking to some people I know about Murray Walker, and they're people that I know are not Formula One fans. And I just mentioned it briefly. I was like, oh, did you hear Murray Walker? And they were like, yeah, it's really sad. And they started just telling me stories about Formula One races that they'd watched. I was like, but you don't like Formula One? And they were like, no, we don't like Formula One, but we really liked Murray Walker. And I was like, well, that's and you used to watch races for Murray Walker? And they were like, yeah, we used to watch races for Murray Walker. And I started asking loads of people, and the amount of people that I've spoken to who have been like, yeah, not a fan of Formula One at all, don't watch it at all now, never used to watch it before, but used to watch it for Murray Walker. Like, when Murray Walker was commentating, we'd watch it for that because his commentary was incredible. They were like, he was funny, he got things wrong all the time, which was funny, and he got really emotionally invested in everything. And people used to love that about him. And I think that's the sign of a great commentator.
That is it. Yeah. Gen 1 podcast, people listening just for the person.
Yes, that's it.
You know, I've done the same thing. I've watched other series because I like a commentator. And you just want to listen to that person's opinion. And like you say, they're captivating, they're funny, they draw you in. And they could talk about something completely different and you still listen because you just like that person.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And he was definitely one of those people.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I guess rest in peace, Murray.
Yeah, man.
Let's get moving then, Steve. So we also know that the Qatari government have offered and given actually the first doses of the COVID vaccines to the entire MotoGP paddock. I mean, this is very generous of the Qatari government.
It's very generous.
After being on that human right. Let me spit my words out again. Human Rights Watch website. I am quite unimpressed with the Qatari government, full stop, but that is what it is, so we're not going to worry about that. However, yeah, this is a very generous offer, and one that has been gratefully accepted by Dorna. I don't really know how I feel about it. Well, I didn't know how I felt about it. I'm a bit... we were talking about this on Facebook, weren't we, Steve? And I'm a bit on the fence about it. On the one hand, I think it's very good that these star sports, these athletes, and the teams are all being vaccinated. And I'm not happy for it for their safety, although that is nice. It's more that it prevents them spreading COVID wherever they're going. They're travelling to 20 odd races this year potentially. Yeah. So being able to control that and to stop reduce the chances of them taking anything with them is very good. But at the same time, the other part of me feels a little like there's literal like healthcare workers and frontline staff, and I don't just mean frontline staff in hospitals here and carers. I mean the people working in supermarkets. I mean the people who are the quote unquote essential workers that we've all just fucking forgotten about.
Yeah.
And a lot of them haven't been vaccinated yet. People have had to work right through the entire pandemic that without we would have been fucked. Like bin men. Absolutely. What happens if the bin crews aren't around anymore? Society collapses. Really?
Yeah. Just for one little thing.
Exactly. And these people have had to work all the way through and they've not all been vaccinated yet. So I'm a bit torn on it, Steve. But
I started out pretty damn adamant it was the right thing to do until I started looking into it a bit more. And then realising that there are a lot of people out there, especially in Qatar, who haven't had the vaccine yet. And these are, they're sportsmen, they're entertainers at the end of the day. It's not an essential thing. If we stopped racing Qatar and said, right, we're going to skip it till similar time as next year, would it really matter? Would it really make a difference to people's lives? Whereas these frontline workers have. You know, it's a very. I can see the argument. I think we shared about this on Facebook as well. I can see the argument for both sides. They're at risk of spreading it without a vaccine. Potentially stick them, and let's make them safe.
Yeah, that's sort of it, isn't it? I keep flipping back and forth on it. I'm very still similar. Unsure. I read the Johan Mir comments, and Johan Mir is it's funny because he's obviously one of the youngest guys in the paddock, but he seems to me to be like the moral arbiter. I'm like, what Johan Mir says and does seems to be generally the right thing to do. So if I'm a bit torn on something, I just look to what he said about it, and I'm like, okay, that's probably the right thing. And he's taken the vaccine, and he was saying he feels a moral responsibility. He's like, he's traveling for his job. And he feels a moral responsibility to limit the chances of him spreading anything that could kill anyone else. Yeah. And I guess that argument is sound. If the MotoGP circus is happening anyway, then there's potentially 1,000 people traveling country to country to country all the time. Then yeah, it probably makes sense for that. No, it doesn't probably. It does make sense for them to be vaccinated. It's just the idea that I'm just a bit struggling on the fact that there's certainly people around the rest of the world, not just in Qatar. Qatar are doing very well with their vaccinations anyway. They look like they're going to have plenty to vaccinate their population with. So they're not taking them away from their population as such, from what I understand. But I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I just struggle a little bit. I'm sort of the opinion that maybe all of these super rich people, maybe the riders should just pay to have their own vaccinations and pay for all their teams to have the vaccinations and let governments vaccinate the normal people.
Yeah, that is an option, I guess.
But, I don't know. It's a tough one, and it's being done, and it is what it is. And whatever my opinion is, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because I really don't matter at the end of the day.
We could sit here and debate this all night. The fact of the matter is, the Qatari government have been very generous with their gifts of vaccines to the riders and all the teams. So good on them for that lovely gesture. And let's just hope it helps to limit some spread.
Yeah, that's it. Interestingly, Bahrain offered Formula One the same thing, and Formula One said no.
It's quite interesting.
So that's an interesting one to look into. And also interestingly, Taka Nakagami, and he's not the only person to have done this, to be fair, but he's probably the most high profile, has refused the vaccine because he doesn't trust it.
Fair enough. That's your opinion.
See, on the one hand, I'm a bit like, I'm not sure they should all be getting vaccinated. And then when one of them is like, I don't trust the vaccines, and then that gets my hackles up as well. So, I'm just an impossible man to please.
Impossible. God help Cherie.
It's okay, because she's much stronger and much harder to please than me. So she just beats me into submission most of the time.
Yeah, I can tell.
And then we compromise and do what Cherie wants to do.
Brilliant. I've lost where I was going to go.
Oh, that whiskey already. Right, well, let's keep going then, Steve. That's the vaccines. The paddock has been vaccinated mostly, and it means they're probably going to be safe, and they're not going to be transmitting, well, at least they're going to have reduced their chances of transmitting anything. They're going to reduce their chances of getting ill on the road.
Aye.
So at the end of the day, if we all want to enjoy MotoGP, which I know we do, then this is probably a very good step, actually. And I'm going to go back and forth on my opinion. I'm going to flip on it constantly. But yeah, I think for now, I'm calling it a 5 out of 10, and I'm still undecided, but I will switch between a 3 and an 8 hourly.
I'm probably of the same opinion. I think, yeah.
Okay, so then, Marc Marquez, Steve. We've seen Marc Marquez back on a motorbike.
Stoked, mate. Absolutely stoked. I was at work today, I think it was yesterday, and I saw the footage of him on the mini bike. And I was in a very small little cabin on this boat, and I felt my phone going off, and I was glass fibering at the time, so I couldn't really look. And then I did manage to get my phone out, and I was just like, yeah. I was like, right, fuck the fiberglass.
Yeah, there's more important things going on now. Marc Marquez is on a mini bike.
Yes. I was like, you want your luxury yacht? Wait.
Yeah.
This is more important.
Exactly.
So good. And then, we see the news today that he sticked it up to a sort of a GP bike. So
I was a bit confused by this, because I thought it was a GP bike, because I'd only watched the video, I'd not read anything about it, and I was super stoked. And then I was a bit like, hang on a minute, how is he riding a GP bike at what isn't an official test? It's not an unofficial test. How is he doing this? So I looked into it a bit more, and I say looked into it a bit more, I read 2 articles, so I didn't actually have to search hard.
I think I've read the same ones you have.
Yeah, and it's not the actual GP bike, is it? It's the RCV 213VS, which is the GP racing derived bike that not anyone can buy, because that's not quite how it works. You can apply to buy it, and then you can pay the £154,000 to own it. But it means it is available to more than just the GP riders.
Aye. It's out there. It's just an exclusive.
Yeah, and there is a road going version, isn't there?
Yeah, Honda have got, they always do their shakedown road going versions, and I think that's somewhere in the region of 50k.
Okay. Is that the SP?
Yeah, I think it is the SP. I think you can just roll up into a dealer, and if they've got one, you can buy it. But again, I think it's limited, out of my price bracket.
Yeah.
And I probably would shit myself riding it.
100%. Yeah. So this is, I guess, this S version is like the Kawasaki H2R as opposed to the H2.
Yeah, I like to think there's that S that's standing for soft.
It's just a soft MotoGP bike.
Yeah, basically, just to dial down. Someone's gone, right, how can we make this a little bit thrilling, but also at the same time rideable? And they've gone, well, we'll do a soft version for the pussies.
And we'll charge them £154,000 for the privilege.
Yeah. I'm sure if you peeled off a sticker somewhere, you're just going to find a sign that says "you pussy." That's my version of it.
Yeah, that's it.
As well.
Just under the number plate. Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. Watch this. Oh shit, tree.
That would be me every time.
Yeah, but we haven't heard too much yet, have we? We know he hasn't set any flying laps. It's just a sort of shakedown, see how he gets on.
Well, he was doing flying laps, but we haven't really had any times released, which is sort of fair enough. You don't expect them from this kind of. It's just like you say, it's a shakedown. I've quite enjoyed how rapid this has been, though. It went from
sudden.
It was all of a sudden, it was like Marc Marquez passes his medical and is told he can now start training to get ready for his MotoGP, his debut or return to a MotoGP bike. And then the next day we see him he's on a mini bike. And to be fair, even on a mini bike, he looked quick. I was like, whoa, he's like, quick. It was fun. He looked like he was having loads of fun on a mini bike. And then like 4 days later or whatever, he's on this probably the most sophisticated non-GP bike you can ride. And he's on that, and he's wiggling it out of corners, getting it all sideways, his elbows down at one point. You're like, this has been a very quick. He can start getting ready to ride a GP bike again. It's been like 4 days, and he's basically there.
Yeah, he's coming. He's going to be at Qatar 1.
You reckon he's going to be racing in Qatar 1?
He'll give it a go. I'm sure he'll be there for the Friday. His name's on the provisional list, we know. I think if he's progressing this quickly and his arm is okay after this, because let's face it, he's not ridden anything for 8 months now, and he's progressing very, very fast. We know he's stepped up his training. Obviously, they're testing what he can do and his abilities and his limits at the minute. I'm absolutely sure. We got 12 days now till Friday FP1.
Would it be 12, 13 days, 12 days, something like that?
Yeah, 12.70 hours anyway.
12.6 days at this point.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like a star date. Live long and prosper. He'll be there. I think he'd be crazy with this kind of rapid progression not to try. We know he's a dedicated racer, so I'm sure we're going to see some snippets on social media over the coming days and weeks. I'm sure we're going to see some real big teasers. But I think the biggest thing we're going to see is the mind games are now going to kick in like crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. So, Steve, where do you think, if Marc Marquez comes back at Qatar 1 and he races, what is a good result for him?
Top 10.
Top 10 is a good result. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I would say so, because at the same time, what's the average race? 40 minutes?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
That's a lot. That is a lot on any injury, even after 8 months. We know, although he's been out for 8 months, he's not been anywhere near fully fit or fully healed for that 8 months.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't actually considered that, because he might be fit as fuck right now. And I mean, he right now is going to be way fitter than you or I have ever been in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
But he's probably not race fit. You're right. He's not wrestled a GP bike around a track for 45 minutes at a time, flat out for that time. So yeah, he might be fast initially, but he's gonna tire quickly. Yeah.
It's gonna fade away, like his rear tire or front tire. He's gonna burn out pretty quick.
Yeah, you're right. And we still don't know whether there'll be a tiny amount of fear in him. There might be the fear.
I think it will be there initially. I think we're going to see it for a few laps. I think we'll see some tentative riding. But then I think once that adrenaline starts to subside and his clear head takes over and he realises, this isn't that bad, he'll go for it. I'm sure he will. I would be in the disposition of thinking that we might see a flash in the pan out the blocks and try and get to the front for the fade. So when he's halfway through the race and he does start to get caught up, the damage is going to be limited by the space he's got at the front.
That's fair. And the idea that he can then defend and maybe getting into the fight will give him the adrenaline he needs to continue. But I don't know, even if it's not fitness, I don't know what more than a year now off the bike is going to have done. He's not going to be race sharp. He's not going to be firing on all cylinders. I'm with you. I think a top 10 would be a really fucking solid result, but I will be surprised if he gets that.
Absolutely. If he could finish in the points, that's a good day. But an outstanding day would be a top 10 finish.
Yeah.
And then just build. We said it's going to be a slow progression. I think we said in the last podcast, it's not going to be a sharp curve. It's going to be quite a smooth, progressive curve.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my opinion. I think we could see a sharper incline, depending on how he gets on. There's so many variables that we're looking at that we don't know.
We literally don't even know if he's going to be in Qatar, and we're talking about it as if he definitely is. So it's just another Marc Marquez. The Marc Marquez saga is just fun this year. It's going to be fun when he gets back on a bike. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be weather. I think it will. Doesn't matter when he comes back. As long as he's back in the first 3 rounds, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if anyone can come out of the blocks and score the wins while Mark isn't capable of doing it. Because I think if it goes like last year, and people are just going to be winning one week and then finishing 10th the next week, I'm still not unconvinced that Marquez can win the title. I think he could start off slow, score a few points here and there at the beginning, but by the end of the year, win 5 races on the bounce, and that's it. That's the title. Yeah,
I'm convinced that if we see a similar scenario to last year, and we know we're pretty sure we're going to get a full season this year, if he's wise and doesn't dump it, and everyone else follows suit from 2020, he's in with a real shout. He's in with an absolute solid shout, which will just cement his place in history. Yeah. Really will. Come back from this first year back after a whole season out, and just here it is. Look at my trophy.
Yeah, oh God, can you imagine?
Oh, the ego.
He's got enough of it as it is.
I reckon he's quite humble, but I am ordering a Marquez shirt. I'm having one.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking I might get some Marquez merch if he comes back. It's now become almost like an underdog story for him to come back and do well. It's like, oh yeah, go on. It's quite exciting.
Oh, it has been for all of last year, the Marquez story. I mean, he overshadowed so much last year and wasn't even there.
Yeah, exactly.
I imagine what it's going to be like this year when he is there. You know, he's going to be running around in 22nd place, like 40 seconds off the lead. It's going to be a 4-way scrap for the finish, and the cameraman's going to be like, look at Marquez.
Annoyingly, I think that could happen. You're right.
Oh, yeah, mate, that'll come. Don't worry. You know, we'll get that lot at the start where we're like start-finish wave, Vinales has won, happy days Marquez.
Yeah.
Like, who finished second? Well, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We gave the sponsors what they wanted for the winner crossing the line. Now we're going to look at Marquez.
Exactly. He will steal the show this year, hands down.
Yeah, you're right. Completely right. Okay, and speaking of stealing the show, Steve, we've seen 2 banging liveries in this last week. We'll start with the MotoGP livery there, shall we? It was the Yamaha 65th anniversary livery.
60 or 65th, but we'll go with 65th.
Might be the 60th, actually. Now I've said it. I said it out loud, and now I don't really trust myself. But this livery is a stunner.
It is banging. We've seen similar before, like the yellow and checker flag striping, but this is white, red, black. Oof.
Yeah, certainly. I think the yellow might have been the 60th, actually.
I think that was a Roberts tribute or something along that line.
Yeah, I think you're bang on right. And I think the 65th is this white one, but I could be wrong about that. We'll never know, Steve. We'll never know. I'm trying to Google it quickly, but my
the years are not important. The look at this livery it's just for anyone that hasn't seen it, Google it, look it up. Crutchlow rode it. There's some cracking shots taken. It's all over social media. All you've got to do is go on Crutchlow's profile, Yamaha's profile, and you'll find it.
Yeah,
it is a belter.
Yeah, that's it. Or come and join into our Facebook group, which we haven't plugged yet, Steve. We've talked for...
Well, you haven't.
How long have we been talking for? 30 minutes without plugging the Facebook group yet. So
it's time for a plug.
The images are in the Facebook group. So you can find us by just searching for the Love of MotoGP community on Facebook and come and join us in there, and you'll see photos of Cal Crutchlow's wonderful test livery. We also saw Maverick Vinales running a similar test livery too.
Aye.
During the test, which it's a stunner. It's my favourite Yamaha livery, I think, for quite a long time.
That is nice. That is very, very nice. Which leads us on nicely to another very fine livery, which we had some photos of today, which I'm not 100% sure. I don't like even more.
This is one of my favourites. This Mark VDS Moto 2 livery is the Elf sponsored livery. Is absolutely stunning. It reminds me a lot of when Scott Redding was on that bike before it became like the Australia Galizia Mark VDS bike. And it went very blue because I think Scott Redding's was like black and yellow, wasn't it? And then it went the blue colours for a few years, and now it's this stunning red that is just I'm really nice. Liking it.
There's a lot of really nice liveries out this year. There's going to be a lot of like real pretty pictures, that we say, floating around the place this year.
Yeah.
The camera boys are really going to have their work cut out.
Yes, certainly. Yes, the Mark VDS one I think is one of my very favourites. And it looks like the Yamaha livery is the 60th anniversary livery.
It is the 60th, fair enough. Okie dokie.
There we go. Right, I just really wanted to talk about the Mark VDS one because I think it's an absolute stunner. I think if anyone hasn't seen it yet, it's certainly worth looking at. And I think it's going to be a very obvious bike on the Moto2 grid as well. It's going to be a very easy one to pick out.
Yes, you're definitely going to be able to spot that a mile off. Big elf sign and the lion, and it just looks good.
It's that Mark VDS lion I love.
I do like that. I've always liked that. So, nice livery.
I quite like Mark VDS full stop. I just quite like the fact that he's just this billionaire that's got and already normally I'm like, oh fucking hell, he's a billionaire, he's gonna be a prick. I've got quite a bias against billionaires, sue me. But I quite like the fact that Mark VDS is this eccentric, he's a very round man, isn't he? Just this eccentric billionaire that I think is brewing, isn't it? He's got like a lot of beer companies. I think does he own Australia Galizia actually?
I think so. I think he's got his fingers in a lot of pies, but yeah, I think it's essentially brewing, which is his biggest income.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I just like the bike.
Yeah, I just like the fact he's just this eccentric billionaire that's gone, do you know what? I sort of just want a motorbike racing team, so here's some money, get to it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Everyone's wildest dream, or every team boss's wildest dream, is an eccentric billionaire owner with pots of money who loves racing.
Yeah, I mean, look at Formula One. You've only got to look at both the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri squad, owned by Dietrich Mateschitz of Red Bull fame.
Aye.
So yeah, the eccentric billionaire is the team owner you want, definitely.
That is, you just want to roll up and say, we need this, here's a check. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have some extras.
That's it. But just by having the money, you get the best riders, don't you? Or the best drivers or riders, because you can afford to pay them the most.
Exactly. It has its perks.
Yes, exactly. Right, Steve, let us take a quick break, and then when we return, we will chat about the test and what we've seen.
Let's go for it.
Good stuff. So, guys, bear with us for one moment. We will be right back with you. Right, thank you for bearing with us there, guys. You've just potentially had an ad break. Steve has urinated. I got a beer, which I'm trying to open in front of the mic, but there we go.
There it is.
Failing out miserably.
You look very worried then.
Well, I was trying to do it with one hand, Steve. It's like trying to undo a bra with one hand. It's one of those things we all think we can do, but when it comes down to the moment, you can't actually do it.
No one can open a bra one-handed.
So we saw
scissors are for.
God, that's what's this. You're living in some like really high roller lifestyle. If it's just like cut the bra open, job done, and just new one every time, Steve. I don't have that kind of money, mate.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Anyway, we saw the second 3 days of testing at Qatar. Essentially, this was pretty much 2 days of testing, wasn't it?
Yeah, a very dull affair the second half as well. One day complete, should we say, dust out or wash out, or I don't really know.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I wrote washout initially, but that makes it sound like it was raining. It's certainly not a washout, was it? But it's a sandstorm, basically.
Yeah, essentially just, middle of the desert is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But that just ruined the final day of testing. There's just nothing anyone could do. I mean, we saw Petrucci go out on track, and I think we saw Polispargo on track. They're like 8 to 10 seconds off the pace.
Yeah,
Have you seen the
long way.
footage of Petrucci, like, just coming down the straight?
Yeah, I mean, it's like rainwater getting sprayed out behind him, but it's just dust. I mean, the grip must have been just non-existent.
Awful, yeah. It was amazing, like the rooster tails of just sand that were being kicked
Yeah.
about. It's one of those things that you look at it and you don't believe it's real. You're like, what are they even fucking doing? Like, there's no point. Just pack up the shit and go home, lads. There's no point in being here.
No, not at all. And that got me into thinking as well. I was thinking, well, what happened last year when there was nothing going on at all? How much sand got dumped on that tarmac?
A lot, I'd imagine. And Qatar's not a track that's used very often anyway.
No.
So this is often a problem when the bikes go there the first day, isn't it? When even during a normal year, when they go for the race weekend, the Friday is often used just to clean the track because the dust just gets blown across.
Exactly. You got to think of those little grains are eating away at that tarmac as well.
Yeah, that's true. The erosion there will be quite high, and the tarmac over the years will be getting smoother and smoother and losing grip because of that.
Exactly. So the surface isn't going to last as long.
But it's also Qatar. There's a shitload of money in Qatar. It doesn't really matter if they have to resurface the track.
No, at the end of the day, they can afford for a team to just be there on hand just to sweep it off.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And I'm sure, almost 100% sure, actually, that before a race weekend goes ahead, especially if there's been a few weeks or a few months between events there, that there will be crews going around sweeping the track. And maybe not by hand, but they'll be jet washing it, and there'll be sweeper trucks
road
and stuff.
Sweepers, all sorts going around there just to keep the surface nice and clean. But, 5 minutes later, it's like a flogging a dead horse. You're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
It's back. But yeah, wind and weather do not stop just for MotoGP.
No, that's it. So we saw what was essentially a 5-day test for the full-time riders basically become a 4-day test.
Yeah, test is a little bit slow anyway, but sometimes they go out and all hell for leather. They just really sealed the deal, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I have to admit as well, Steve, I had a bit of a facepalm moment earlier today. Well, I realised, when I was scrolling through the MotoGP website, that all the After the Flag stuff for testing was free. It wasn't for Video Pass subscribers. So it's all on there for free. So we can go back and watch it. I was watching some of it earlier. There you go.
Enough.
For anyone who hasn't seen it or wants to go back and relive testing as if it hasn't happened yet, you can do that. It's all on the MotoGP.com for free.
I'll have a look at that later.
Yeah, that's what I was actually doing when you called me earlier. Which is why it took me a little while to answer, because I should probably stop this, because I know Steve often just puts up with my loud music as I answer the call to him and then have to try and work out how to pause the music.
That's all right. I quite like your music, so I don't mind.
Oh, there we go. Well, this time it was commentary anyway.
Fair enough.
But let's run through the team, Steve, to what we saw during the test and how they did, or in the second part of the test anyway. I've kind of ordered the teams in how I think they performed, and I'm going to start from the top and run down through the teams, and we'll just have a quick chat about each and what they were testing, what we saw, and who did what.
Let's have a little chat.
So we start with Ducati, Steve. I think Ducati had a solid test, considering none of their riders are where they were last year. Every single Ducati bike this year has got a quote-unquote new rider on it. If it's not new to a Ducati, then they are new to their current team.
It is a full shake-up, should we say.
Yes, the 6 riders, to Jack Miller and Pecco Bagnaia, have moved from Pramac onto the factory bike. We've seen Johan Zarco move from the Avintia bike to the Pramac bike, alongside Jorge Martin, who's moved up from Moto2. And then Enea Bastianini and Luca Marini are both on the Avintia, Sponsorama, VR46, whatever the fuck you want to call it, squad. And they've both come up from Moto2 as well.
Oh, a proper new sort of setup, should we say?
Yes, exactly. But a really, really good test.
I was quite surprised at how well they actually got on.
Yeah, and it seems to be nearly all of them, actually. 5 of them.
Yeah, 5 out of the 6 had a really good test. 1 had a little bit less.
Yeah, well, Luca Marini is just struggling to fit on the bike, man. He's so big, so gangly. He still doesn't look comfortable on the bike. All the footage I've seen of him, it's him looking like he's just been squashed onto it, and he's still all arms and legs, and he looks a bit like in Twilight, right? There's the werewolf things in the Twilight films. There's the werewolves. And the younger kids, when they turn into the werewolves, look very gangly and long and weird because they're supposed to be like young pups. You're shaking your head at me like you don't know what's going on, Steve, and that's okay. Maybe someone out there who's listening does, or everyone's pointing and laughing at me for referencing Twilight in a MotoGP podcast. We'll never know. However, he reminds me of a gangly werewolf because he's just... It looks like he's not quite fully formed with the bike yet. And over time, I'm 100% sure he'll get more comfortable on the bike. They'll make the bike fit him and he'll be up to speed. But finishing in 21st place overall, it's not a good test for him, I don't think. But hopefully, I'm convinced he will get quicker.
Yeah, he will.
He just needs to be able to fit on the bike, which is
Ducati
are going to have to help.
Yeah, it just stick him on a hot wash and shrink the boy. He'll be absolutely fine. But getting back to Twilight, the only two things I know about that is Simon Patterson's hair is bloody big.
It's not Simon Patterson, mate. That's the MotoGP reporter.
Who's the dude? Who's the actor?
Robert Pattinson.
Oh, that's close enough.
I'm sure Simon will be stoked to know that you got him confused with Robert Pattinson.
We'll give him a little shout out. We'll send him a link. He'll love it.
Yeah.
I've got to lay off this whiskey.
Yeah, I think I might be getting to you, man.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, he's really sparkly in the sun.
Yes, that's part of the trope of the vampires within the Twilight universe, is they sparkle in the sun.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I remember.
To be fair, it's actually a fun series, but we're not here to talk about that. And people often laugh at me when I do start talking about it, so we're going to keep moving here. So Jack Miller finished the test on top. He finished first, fastest ever two-wheel lap of Qatar, although it's not an official record because it wasn't set during an official session.
No.
And that's not the only thing, though, is it? Like, the top 5 highest speeds of the test were all set by Ducatis.
Yeah, they've turned it up again, haven't they? They've really... Someone's got that screwdriver out and gone, right, let's see what this thing can do. And what scares me is, this isn't even the fastest track.
No, I know. Wait till we get to Mugello.
Fucking, that thing's going to take off.
Zarco set an unofficial speed record on a MotoGP bike here at Qatar, 222.2 miles per hour.
That's insane. And we've got some of the longest straights coming.
I mean, Qatar, I think, could be the longest straight, actually. Or it's certainly up there, but it's quite a slow corner onto the straight.
Oh, it hasn't got that aggressive, like, last corner out of Mugello where you can really crank it on early.
Exactly.
Keep it pinned for a long, long way. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be fun when we get to some really fast circuits. It'll be interesting to see him around a really fast track like Silverstone, for example, that is just boom fast for the entire
serious
lap.
straights at Silverstone. But again, it's got to play with the heads of like people that have been struggling with top speed, like Yamaha. You know, if they came into this testing, yeah, we've got them this year, we've really caught up, and then they go and do this, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
And it is going to fuck with Yamaha, because Yamaha also had a really good test. When you look at their lap times, and we will come on to them in a moment, but they are almost comparable to the Ducatis. Like, if you just gave them a qualifying session, it would be nip and tuck as to who's going to win. But in a race scenario, that top speed is going to help, because the Ducati can pass the Yamaha in more places than the Yamaha can pass Ducati over a lap.
Exactly.
So
we're just going to be
Ducati.
back to that slipstreaming scenario again. You know, it's going to hurt. It's going to really hurt the Yamaha boys to just get past and then to have to sit behind them for so long and just work and work and work to just get past again.
Yeah, the only way Yamaha are going to be winning this championship is if one of their riders can Jorge Lorenzo it. Can pull a gap, pull a second in the first lap and just keep going, just break away from the Ducatis or the Hondas or whoever the fuck it is, but everyone is faster than the Yamahas.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll come on to the Yamahas anyway. We saw Ducati testing a ton of new parts again. They were testing new aero. This new aero is designed to increase their top speed and help them corner better. Like, oh my God, if they've created an aero package that not only has just helped them break all the speed records, but can also help them corner better and can fix their cornering problems. Ducati have just not stumbled upon because they've been actively working towards it, but have just got the holy grail of MotoGP aero.
Oh yes, I'm convinced some of this is going to be flexi aero, like we've got in Formula One. So that front wing sort of changes shape as you get faster, etc., etc.
Oh, I hadn't even considered that, and this is why I'm not an aerodynamicist.
I was looking at it. I've shared a picture, didn't I? I stole off somewhere on the vast internet, put it on the Facebook group, and I was looking at it, and then I looked at a picture of it being tested, and I'm sure it's a slightly different shape. I really am. I know it could be a camera angle and all that jazz and lighting, but I am absolutely sure to get if they're telling us they've got an aero that can be used at the same time to do both, it's either completely different and it's obviously going to work at different speeds, but something's got to give. Something's got to move to make that, say, the downforce aero not have any influence while it's being used down the back straight, to then tip in, to then kick in, and one's got to turn off, one's got to turn on. Something's got to move and shape itself to really get in works.
I think you are probably correct. Obviously, movable aerodynamics are illegal in MotoGP. However, they're also illegal in Formula One, and you are completely right that aero flexing is a huge part of Formula One. They know that front wing is going to bend, it's going to change shape under the load so that it receives. I mean, the front wing on a Formula One car is so strong, and it has to go through so much. The force that is going through it when it's at full speed is you could stand on one end of that wing and it will barely bend. But the forces that are going through it when it's full speed do change the shape of it. And I think I hadn't considered it until now, Steve, but I think you're 100% correct. The aero in MotoGP will be doing the same thing.
Yeah, but probably not to the extent because it's smaller.
It's smaller, so it can't do it to the same extent. However, I am now convinced, again, I hadn't considered it before, but I'm convinced now in this brief conversation that you're right and that it will be having an effect. There will be, even if it's just slight and it maybe doesn't make a huge amount of difference, it's certainly something Gigi Dall'Igna's played with. And especially Aprilia are probably doing the same thing. We've got to think Massimo Rivola came from Formula One. He knows these things occur.
I'm actually convinced that that's what they're doing. They're playing twofold, 50-50, top speed, corner speed, and they're working on flex.
Yeah, I think you're right. Ah, there we go. We've uncovered something today, Steve. This is I can never say the word. Investigative. I can't do it. I never will be able to do it, but we all know what I mean. Investigative journalism at its finest. Steve and I just make shit up and claim it's news.
And sometimes we get it right.
Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes.
Other times it's just...
Other times we'll just claim we never did. We'll do a Donald Trump and be like, I never said that.
That was a pretty good impression, mate. I like that.
I spend a lot of my days just walking around doing Donald Trump impressions.
Cut us for something else. Go on, treat us to something else.
I'm not going to do it anymore. We have a lot of American listeners that are probably all pretty cringed out at my attempt at an American accent there. So we also saw Ducati playing with their salad box. It's changed shape again. And no one really knows actually what this salad box does today. We're none the wiser on this.
Nothing.
Oh, I'm convinced it does. I'm on board with it being a mass damper. I think it's a mass damper.
I'm pretty convinced you're right. There's something going on in there, and the only thing I could come up with, like you, is mass damper.
Mm-hmm. I initially thought it was just an electronics box, and that's just where they were putting their electronics, and it made sense for aero, but I don't think that's true. I think the electronics is too small of a package, isn't it? And I'm sure that I don't know where the electronics, the ECU and stuff sits on a MotoGP bike. I imagine it's just under the fuel cover.
I think it is. I think it's somewhere near the air tank and everything there. It's all wired in. That unit, it's not massive, but it's not going to sit behind the dash. I don't think. The headstocks are getting way too small on these bikes. And the fairings too open. You look at the Aprilia, this tiny head unit. Yeah,
that's it. I imagine it's all just under the tank cover, I would guess. Because obviously there's nothing actually under that. That's not the fuel tank, is it? That's just the fuel tank's way lower down.
Yeah, keep the center of gravity down. So you whip it off and he's just like, where's my tank?
Yeah, exactly. Every now and again when I see footage of them like taking one of them off, I'm like, whoa! I sort of forget that's not a fuel tank in there because this isn't a normal motorbike.
No, like normal. If you imagine rolling up to a garage on one of them, it's like, hang on, just let me unstrap this, take this off, pull the bike apart. There's my fuel tank under the seat.
Yeah, well, do you remember the Yamaha? At least Fabio Cortararo's Yamaha in 2019. They just took a whole fuel tank out, just unslotted it, threw it away, just slotted a new fuel tank in.
Yeah, completely weight shifting, different. Oh, just does crazy stuff that we don't really understand, which I think is really interesting. Heaven forbid we ever got in a paddock, because I'd just be standing on some mechanic's shoulder going, what does this do?
They'd be like, I'd have to be like, I'm really sorry, he's been on day release, I'll take him away now. Like, Steve, you're going to get us fucking kicked out, shut up.
I have the spanner.
So we also saw Jack Miller's... Oh, no, hang on. We also saw a front whole shot device as well with Ducati.
Ooh, yeah.
So every team, apart from Yamaha, were testing front whole shot devices.
Come on, Yamaha. Keep up.
Yeah, I'm convinced they've got one. But I was a bit confused because I didn't really realise that the whole shot devices from before were just on the rear wheel. I sort of assumed they were on both, but it turns out not. So
no, it's just the back end, just to lower that back end down. But now you saw good cracking shots as well of this thing working. It's the whole bike going toof, straight down, and then just rocketing off. Except Taka, who obviously pressed the wrong button.
Oh mate, that epic weird burnout wheelie, scary. Yeah,
I reckon that shit him up.
Mm-hmm.
Must have done. But yeah, he definitely forgot to engage traction control or launch control.
Launch control, yeah, certainly. I mean, I was a bit scared watching it, to be fair.
I would have absolutely shit myself. He's lucky that didn't dig in.
Certainly. I remember the 2 times I've accidentally done wheelies in my life, and it scared the shit out of me on both occasions. I cannot even imagine what it would feel like to have the rear wheel smoking like that.
He's lucky that tyre was hot and didn't grip.
Yeah.
Very lucky. But it looked bloody good.
I mean, it looked fun. That's the important thing. It looked good on camera.
Yeah, I bet he got back to the pitch and went, and do that.
Yeah. He's like... Deliberate, boys. Yeah, I'll do that on purpose. Moving on.
Yeah. Underwear, shower.
Anyone clean leathers?
Yeah. Imagine Dane Easy rocking up in the trailer. What the fuck?
Yeah. If I at that point and I'm Taka in this scenario where it's a hypothetical scenario in which he shit himself, I just burn the leathers. No one needs to know. Just burn.
You could just imagine a half naked Taka wandering across the track to the skips.
Yeah, some really like cheeky reporter running over me like, fucking great, new set of leathers there, I'm having that. Oh.
Well, I'm sure some fan would have gone like, yep, having them.
Yeah, worth it.
Where's the nearest river?
Anyway, so we saw Jack Miller finish first. We saw Pecco Bagnaia, his teammate, finishing 5th overall in the test. Actually, a really solid result for Pecco. I'm not expecting a lot out of Pecco this year. I don't know. I am kind of expecting him to have 2 years Ducati and then maybe drop out of MotoGP. I don't know what I'm expecting, but I'm not expecting good things from him this year. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of this one. I'm kind of with you, but at the same time, I think we could see a little bit of a better result from him, but I don't think he's going to be topping our sort of wish list this year.
No, I imagine it'll be a very similar year to last year, but the peaks will be higher. And because when he had peaks last year, they were decent. Like, he got the podium, he scored some good results. We had a lot of crashes, and I don't think this year is going to be very dissimilar. I think he'll score more podiums. I'm not convinced he's going to win a race. I think he's going to score more podiums, to have some better results. But I think they're going to be the season will be marred by crashes.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go with you on that one. I'll be surprised if we're wrong.
So Johan Zarco on the Pramac Ducati, still on a GP21. Finished 9th overall. Obviously, these finishes are just their fastest laps. It's not their race runs or anything.
No.
But I think Zarco is going to have a better year than Pecco.
I think so. I think he could probably push Miller for the top GK.
I don't think he's going to push Miller for top Ducati just because Miller's going to have way more support from Ducati. But we do know Zarco has been the quickest rider through the speed traps, as we said, that 222.2 miles an hour. A very nice, easy number to remember, and you sound very clever saying it, but it's just twos.
Yeah, so, all the twos.
Yeah, exactly. Zarco's teammate, Jorge Martin, finished 14th overall as the top rookie.
That's not bad in a test.
He crashed a lot.
I
did. Think he crashed nearly every day. I
think I can't remember if I'm right here. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I saw something somewhere that said he'd actually apologised to the team for the amount he crashed.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, but it's sort of, Steve, I think we spoke about this, and this is why Jorge Martin was not my pick for Rookie of the Year, because when we were going through their careers beforehand, this was his first season in every class. It was a very crashy season. He was fast, but crashy.
Oh,
and I think it's going to be the story this year. I think he will get, when he finishes, he's going to finish top 10s. But if he's not in the top 10, I think he's going to have a lot of DNFs. Yeah,
this boy's going to build a lot of sandcastles this year. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure of it. I hope he doesn't. I hope we're wrong, but I think we're right.
Yes. So Enea Bastianini finished 15th, and he was actually only 0.022 seconds behind Jorge Martin on his fastest time. His race runs looked good as well. His extended runs looked pretty fast. And Bastianini looks good on a MotoGP bike.
He does. I looked at a few shots of him, a few clips of him, and I was surprised how sort of easy it looked for him straight away.
Yeah, he's already making shapes. He's already got the bike wiggling around, and he's keeping it pinned. He's doing the things you don't expect to see a rookie doing. But he's looked pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing him. And his teammate in Luca Marini, as we've already discussed, had quite a bad test, really, just because he can't fit on the bike.
No, shrink the boy.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Ducati have now got 2 weeks. Well, would have had 2 weeks from the test to get the ergonomics sorted, and I'm convinced they will do. I'm sure he will be at Bologna. I'm sure, well, no, maybe not Bologna, because he's riding a GP19, isn't he? Both Bastianini and Marini are on 2-year-old Ducatis.
Right, they are.
So I imagine he won't be at Bologna getting fitted, but I imagine he will be at Avintia, who I assume are based in Italy.
I believe so, yes. I think they are Italian based, because wasn't their team launch in
a weird garage?
Yeah, bit sort of. It's strange.
It's a good job that was the first launch, because it was quite exciting at the time, but actually it was shit. Now I think back on it, it was shit.
it sort of looked very, very good at the time. The street setting, it all looked a bit.
But it was just nice because it was the first time we'd seen a MotoGP bike again.
Yeah, it was just a bit out there, and then we had all the other launches, and it was like, oh, actually.
Exactly. But yes, I'm sure he's going to be fitted. I'm sure come race to weekend, he will be on the bike properly and will be able to get up to speed. And then we have this nice scenario for the rookies, much like last year, where they get 2 weekends in a row at the same track.
Yeah, that's going to do them the world of good.
Yeah.
It'll be a scrap. I'm sure we're going to have this sort of mini Moto2 little group of riders all kind of battling out between themselves, which would be nice.
Yeah, certainly. So that brings us on to Yamaha then. We've already discussed Yamaha briefly and mentioned that obviously their top speed is shit. But
it is poor.
Their 1 lap pace is amazing. And actually, their race pace looks really good too. It's pretty much on par with Ducati's, maybe a little bit behind. But the problem they're going to have is that top speed.
Yeah. They've obviously made some steps somewhere. I think they've definitely improved on their cornering, because that's the only way we can explain their how close their lap times are to the Ducatis. So they've made leaps in where they're good, but they still haven't fixed this top speed problem.
And that's the thing. But all the engines are sealed, though, aren't they? They can't do anything with the engines this year.
No.
They can't develop the engines this year. The only team that has been allowed to develop their engines, actually there's 2. Aprilia and KTM are the only 2 teams that were allowed to develop their engines this year. And now KTM's engines will be sealed.
Yes.
So they won't be allowed to do any more development. But yeah, Yamaha are stuck with the same problems they had last year, but they're probably using the right valves this year. I imagine there's less cheating going on. But yeah, they've certainly got a new chassis. They're aiming to be more like the 2019 machine, like you say, to fix the cornering issues that they had last year.
Yeah, hopefully they've done it. Hopefully we'll see some fast improvements. We know they were testing some new aero as well, so hopefully they've been looking at the flexi stuff and maybe some more downforce here and there.
I like
Who
that we're
knows?
just going with the flexi stuff now.
Yeah,
You
we're
and I
gonna.
are both convinced that it's flexi, so that's it. It's definitely flexi.
Yes, I'm going to make it my mission this year. I want to find someone in the paddock and really get just someone to walk past one and go, boing, yeah, that flexes.
But I bet you wouldn't be able to do it with your hand. I imagine
absolutely not.
the force that is required to make it flex will be the 200 miles an hour force that we can't do with our hands. Like, you could be Arnold Schwarzenegger and not strong enough to put enough pressure on to make it flex.
No, unless you stuck the thing in the wind tunnel, you'd never know. Because I'm convinced if it is what they're doing, thinking about sort of just on the fly now, it won't be the downforce lean angle area that will flex. It will be the straight line area that will flex.
Yeah, and that'll flex almost flat as they're going straight to allow better airflow through.
That's it. Yeah, and as soon as they hit the corner speed, the lower entry speeds will mean that thing will negate any effect.
Yeah.
And then the side entry aero will kick in.
Yeah.
Got it.
I like that you've got the theory, but fuck knows how they possibly designed it.
Yeah, I need to I'm going to have a word with the boffin because I love all this shit. I would ask the designers at work, but they're fucking awful.
Yeah, I also imagine there's probably... I mean, there will be a little bit of crossover between the fluid dynamics involved in a boat and to a bike, but it will still be quite different, I imagine. If you were making racing yachts, I would imagine that there would be quite a lot of crossover, but as you're just making luxury yachts, maybe not.
No, they do race these things. One of the guys at work is really into his racing yacht things and loves like the America's Cup and all that jazz, so he's into it. He understands all the carbon fiber effect wings that they have under the water. And, what do they call them? Hydrofoils.
Foils, yeah. I mean, the newest yachts, to be fair, the only thing that's in the water is the foil. The whole boat is then like meters out of the water.
Yeah, raises up, less resistance. It looks pretty cool. These things we build are just fat, bulky, and all for luxury.
So I actually know the guy that races the Hugo Boss boat.
Right.
In the Vendée Globe every year.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me a lot about his boat and the technology that has gone into that is insane. The amount of money they spend on those racing yachts, Steve, make the yachts you make. These racing yachts will make them look like they're worth pennies. Like they're expensive. The R&D, the money, everything is insane that goes into this, and it's a weird sport as well because it's this ultra rich, expensive sport that literally no one cares about. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it is. You start digging into it, it is like, it's almost like a taboo sport. No one speaks about it. No one, it's all televised, but no one watches it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And a lot of sponsorship money goes into it. And the guys earn a lot of money. The prize money's good. The boats are worth stupid money. But you're right. No one watches it. It's very strange.
It is very weird, unless you're in that kind of cliquey circle. Like work do a regatta, I don't know what the bloody hell you call it. Boat
it is a regatta, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but a worldwide one. They go all around the place, and the logistics that go into organise it, the time, the man hours, the money spent on it, everything that goes involved, like how people just act when they're there. The money that's spent on it is incredible. But then,
it can't be a worthwhile investment.
No, well, I think it is because like the advertising, just keeping those customers there, it must be because otherwise you wouldn't spend it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It is, but then I guess actually we're coming at this from people who, I mean, I really don't give a shit. I quite like sailing, but I don't give a shit about the sport. I don't really care enough to follow it. But I'm sure actually the people that do care enough to follow it will talk about MotoGP in the same way we're now talking about this, and it'll be like, but these guys are dropping 20 million. Honda are dropping 50 million a year on a MotoGP project. What's it gaining them? But clearly it's gaining them something. So yeah, okay. Exactly. I think I've probably jumped the gun and said it's a bit weird, where it makes perfect sense. I'm just naive and a bit ignorant about it.
It's each to their own, isn't it? These sailors will probably look at these motorbikes and go, "Whoa, what's this?" They've all got Greta on the deck because it's wind powered.
And actually, to be fair, if you were to say to me, Tim, what would you rather do? Would you like to ride a MotoGP bike around a track for a day, or would you like to sail the Atlantic? I'd probably sail the Atlantic, actually, as my preferred.
Some of the locations this regatta we do at work go to, I'd sail.
Yeah.
every day. So some of it looks amazing. But there we go. Each to their own. Everyone make themselves happy. And if you want to tune into some weird sailing program, go for it.
Yeah, that's it. You'll probably find a podcast out there talking about it. Maybe.
I'm probably far more popular than what we are.
Yeah, don't be like that, Steve. Anyway, so Yamaha, back to that. They were not testing the front hole shot device.
No.
But they're the only factory not to be. But we saw, like, it was great running from all of them, really. Maverick Vinales finished second overall in the timesheets. Fabio Cortaro finished third, and Franco Morbidelli finished fourth. Valentino Rossi was 11th. But all of them have got good takeaways. Like, Vinales spent a lot of time specifically practicing his starts and his running on heavy fuel loads. Like, that's everything that he's been suffering with in the last few years. And
someone's listened. Somewhere along this line has gone, right, this test is to address your personal issues and problems that you have within each race.
Yeah.
Everyone was doing a little bit different at Yamaha, and it didn't really seem to matter where they came overall, as long as they hit an agenda. It's my point of view on it. There was definitely someone had sat down and gone, right, we're not having this again.
Yeah, but they certainly all went out and did their fast running, because they wouldn't be second, third, and fourth without that.
No, but I'm convinced their total goal for this test was to address issues what each rider has.
And maybe this is the perfect year to do it, because you can't change the engine this year. It's last year's engine, so it is what it is. So you've already not got to test the whole engine. Put a good couple of chassis out there to test, and then just make your fucking riders test and make the riders learn within themselves how to do this. We saw this in 2019 with Cortararo. He had one setup from the start of the year. He didn't add anything to the bike all year. He had a fucking great year because he learned how to ride that machine. Do we think this will have been enough for Vinales to challenge for the title this year?
No.
Nah, me neither. The problem is silly, isn't it? He's been testing this and trying to do this, like spending a lot of time focusing on it, and we're still not convinced that he's going to be able to do it. Because I'm still convinced he'll launch off the line, he'll drop 4 places into the first corner, and then by the end of the first lap, he'll be in 12th, even if he started on pole. I'm still convinced that's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, because he's got the potential, but
he's more than capable of really delivering and challenging for the title. But to me, he's one of the riders with the most individual problems in each race. He can't stop. He falls back too quickly when he's challenged in a race. He cannot ride on a full fuel load. To me, you cannot have 3 significant factors that affect your racing all in one hit.
Exactly. Especially if at the end of the race, you're then going to swagger away and be like, well, I was the fastest guy on track for the last 5 laps, so I'm great.
Yeah, that's all good and well if you're challenging at the pointy end, not when you're coming up through the field from 12th. I'm not convinced he will do enough in this test to seriously challenge for the title.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. So we saw Fabio Cortararo. It was quite a slow burn for most of the test, really. It took him a long time to get used to the bike, which surprised me. I mean, the first part of the test, he did 30, 40 laps before he felt good. And I think after 2 days off, it was very similar. It took him a little while to get back up to speed. I don't know if this is worrying or whether it's anything to be concerned about, or maybe it's just this is how Fabio Cortararo works. I don't know so much, but it'd be interesting to see as we get back into racing how he picks up, whether he's just going to be like last year, boom, 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 flat out, smash the first 2 wins or podiums at least, or whether he's going to take some time to get into it. And I really don't think if there's a chance of the Ducatis performing very well, there's a chance of Marquez coming back. He hasn't got time, much like Mav and the other Yamahas. They've not got time to get slow burn into the season. The season's got to start hard and fast. No,
absolutely. I did have a little theory. I wonder if he got a little starstruck.
Being on the factory
Yamaha? The factory bike. Maybe. I wonder, because he's done so well and he's got a promotion up to the factory team, which is what everyone's aiming for. I wonder if it's happened and he's just got in there and just gone a bit sort of like, I'm here.
Yeah, maybe. Especially because, to be fair, we discussed this before, haven't we? Fabio Cortararo started and he was in the Junior World Championship and crushed it. The rules for entering Moto3 were literally changed for Fabio Cortararo because he was so young and so fast. So they changed the rules to let him in. And there was so much hype and potential. And he sort of did nothing. Like, he had a pretty dull years in Moto3. He came to Moto2. He won a race. Well, he kind of, on track, won 2 races on the speed up, but one of those races were taken away later on. So officially he won a race. And then people were like, he came in with all his potential, but it's over. And then he came up to MotoGP and had a banging first season. And people were talking about that second year as like, come on, Fabio, you could win the title. And he didn't. But now maybe it's kind of got that the expectation's back. The expectation, like, he's now looking at it like, whoa, I've got where I wanted to be. Now I need to perform. And can he? I actually am starting to worry that he might be another Maverick Vinales, another Jorge Lorenzo, who arguably was the fastest of the trio. No, arguably, was the fastest of the trio, but was mentally fragile. We know Maverick Vinales is fast as fuck on his day, but is quite fragile, and I'm starting to worry. Quartararo might be the same. I'm a bit concerned that he is rapid, but is gonna be a bit fragile.
Valid, mate. I think you could be onto something there. I hadn't sort of thought about that before. I've always put it down to like maybe nerves or just the atmosphere around him where he is. But yeah, I did not sort of think that he might, his mental state of mind could affect him that much. So I think he could be onto something.
And it's concerning because he's fast and I'd love to see him do well, but I'm starting to feel like he might be another Maverick Vinales.
I think you could be right. And 2 in one team will not be good.
No, it's going to be a rough season, I think. But hopefully it can be redeemed by one Franco Morbidelli, who finished 4th overall in the timesheets, riding the Petronas bike. Just quite a quietly good...
went about his business again.
He's on a 2-year-old Yamaha.
Yeah.
But seems to be okay with it. Much faster than his teammate, Valentino Rossi, who finished 11th on the 2021 Yamaha.
Yeah. I was kind of expecting better from Rossi. But I'm not kind of surprised about what happened, where he finished up. So I think the whole Petronas setup and Yamaha in general is going to be a real... I don't know, hodgepodge of results this year, and I think it's going to be a really interesting sort of beast to watch.
Yeah, certainly. I actually don't think I was expecting better from Valentino. I actually didn't expect him to be anywhere near the top 10, and he finished 11th, like we say. He was less than a tenth of a second off 10th place. He was only 8 tenths off the top, and he set his fastest ever lap at Qatar. So, like, this bike is obviously working for him. I'm quite convinced we'll see the Sunday man come, and on race day, he will be up there in the top 5 most weekends.
Yeah, I think you're right. I kind of had it in my head. I thought that all of a sudden stepping away from the factory team and getting down at Petronas, just that kind of relaxation, knowing that he's still got this ride, the future's still kind of rosy, just might have relaxed him enough to just give him that extra few tenths. I don't know, maybe I was expecting too much. I don't know.
Whereas I think he's actually got those extra few tenths. I think he's got that calm atmosphere, and I think actually this is maybe the best we could have expected from him for testing. I'd be really interested to see. We know he can win at Qatar. He's won 4 times in Qatar, I think, in the past. His last one was 2015, so it's a while ago. Oh my God. If Valentino Rossi comes out swinging and wins in Qatar, I will have so many flashbacks of 2015. I'm going to be the most excited man in the world, Steve. I will be running around for an entire week to see what happens in race 2 at Qatar.
There will be a lot of excited Rossi fans running around with you, mate. Me included.
I mean, I'm convinced he won't. I don't think he is going to win. No. Just going to put that out there. But if he did, I think it would be a very good sign for the rest of the season.
I don't think my thumbs could keep up with the texting if we actually see Rossi looking like he's going to win 5 laps from the end. I think my fingers might just burn out. Like, damn!
I'll be like, Steve, I'm going to watch the race later. Stop fucking texting me.
I'll just be on the phone, mate. Well, get yourself back indoors. Right, you're on the phone. Cherie, you're walking on your own day, love.
Yeah, like we're currently up the mountain, Steve. Doesn't matter. You've got enough signal to call me. Therefore, you've got enough signal to watch the fucking race.
That's what I expect shots of you sitting on top of a big hill in Scotland, watching the race.
I mean, yeah, I'll do that just for you, Steve, maybe.
One day, put it on the Facebook group.
I like that I'm convinced. I'm saying that, yeah, I'll do two things I love most in the world just for you, Steve. I will go and hike up a mountain and watch MotoGP just for you. Not for me at all. It's a selfless act on my part.
I like the fact that you do that for me.
Let's move on to Suzuki, Steve. Suzuki had, again, a pretty good test. The Johan Mir finishing 7th, Alex Rins finishing 8th overall. They were testing a new chassis and a new swing arm. However, it's an aluminium swing arm. Every other team is now using a carbon fibre swing arm. Suzuki are not. Suzuki are world champions.
Yeah.
What does Suzuki know that the rest of us don't?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to go with that. What do they know? Obviously, it works. They've evidently found something that they think is worthwhile in an aluminium chassis to test it. Are they?
Just the swing arm is aluminium. To be fair, most teams are using aluminium chassis.
Yeah, there's obviously something there that makes them think this is worthwhile. So they're sticking with it. They're testing it. I'm sure we'll see them race with it. And if they come out and dominate with it, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of other teams trying it.
I'm sort of wondering whether a carbon fibre swing arm is at peak performance better than an aluminium one, but way, way more expensive and way more harder to get to its peak. Finicky, you could say. Whereas an aluminium one will be cheaper to develop and its peak won't be as high, but maybe its average performance is just a little bit higher.
I would imagine so.
And that's how Suzuki won the championship. They just had a higher average performance than everyone else. They won 2 races as a factory across the year. Johan Mir only won 1 race. Yamaha won 7 races. 2 of the Yamaha riders won 3 races apiece. It clearly shows that you don't need to win every race. You don't need to be the fastest on every lap, as long as you can just be consistently good. And maybe that's what they've gone for. Maybe it's not worth spending the money to make a carbon swing arm work when you've got an aluminium one that works okay.
Yeah, exactly. Just run. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just improve it. Less power, more torque. Just go for it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But the 1 lap pace, as we said with Suzuki's, it looks good. 7th and 8th. That's fine. That's probably, without actually going into it and working out the averages here, that's probably around where they finished last year on their qualifying performance, I'd imagine. They probably averaged around the bottom end of the top 10 across the season.
Yeah. Respectable. Very, very respectable. So...
Exactly. But their race runs look very good. They are just a touch behind Yamaha and Ducatis, although I'm quite convinced they'll be besting the Yamahas when it comes to the actual race weekend.
I think so, yeah. I'm going to agree with you on that one.
And they look very confident. I mean, they were testing a 2022 engine, as we know, so they certainly look confident for the year. And I think I don't know. I've sort of changed my predictions week to week, Steve. I kind of want to still peg a Suzuki rider as my favourites, although I think Ducati are going to win the most races throughout the year. But that's a conversation for another day. We've done our prediction show. That's irrelevant. It's going back now.
It's too easy to drop back into it, though, isn't it? When we're looking at all the different bits, timings, what they've been tested, it's way too easy to sit there and go, he's in with a good shout. No.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of want to, if I can just say all of my opinions in various shows, then it doesn't matter what happens, I'm always going to be right. I can always find a sound clip that proves me right.
The trouble is, the way we look at this, the way we generate sort of a thought process in your head, you would contradict yourself 1,000 times. Just going through it. You think, right, Yamaha, these guys look good, Frankie's going to win it. No, actually, Suzuki, this. And the more you go through it, and you start playing out the different scenarios at different tracks and different weather scenarios, it's just it's impossible.
That's the thing, and that's the nice thing about this show, Steve, is that I don't really think about that much. When I write my opinions down in the show notes and I send them to you, and then you do the same, you write yours, we send them back, we have the back and forth, we're like, brilliant, we know what we're going to talk about, we'll go. And then we get to the show, we just start talking, and I'm like, I think my opinions 5 minutes ago might have been wrong. I think this is what I think now. Yeah. And then you just get a stream of consciousness coming out of me where I just talk and talk and talk.
We need a talk show, basically what we've got now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best way to do it, mate, because this way, no one's paying us to do it. We get to swear, we get to be mean, we get to just do what we want to do without having any responsibility of any branding on top of us.
Yeah, actually scrap the talk show. I change my opinion daily, hourly. I sit at work sometimes working on my own. I'm like, what about this? No, he's going to do well. No, actually, he's not. Actually, no, he is. And I just go round in circles, mate, all day long. I just start replaying stuff of like what happened last year and what ifs and if buts and maybes, and it's just never stops.
That's
never
it.
stops.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, and that's my kind of constant day-to-day life. Is I'm just constantly changing my opinion on everything all of the time. I mean, one minute I'm voting Green Party, the next I'm voting Tory. Who knows what's going? No, I'm kidding. I've literally never voted Tory. Honda, Steve. Anyway, Honda had a very crashy test.
I did have a very crashy test.
10 crashes for the Honda riders across the test.
That's quite a lot.
It is quite a lot. I mean, that even actually makes Jorge Martin's crash record look okay. And we saw them testing quite a lot of bits and bobs. A new chassis was the kind of the big talking point, really, where they're going to use the carbon reinforced chassis. Is it just the aluminium chassis? What's going on here? We don't really know. We'll have to wait and see what they turn out with. Marc Marquez obviously did not take part in the test. Pol Espargaro, on the other hand, has had a very good adaptation to the Repsol Honda from the KTM, finishing 10th overall. But, you know, a good 10th. He's only 7/10 off the lead.
Not far away.
And considering he's only had 4 days on the bike, it's pretty good. And he looks happy. The important thing here is he doesn't look like Rossi getting off that Ducati after the shakedown in 2011 and being like, oh, boys, we are in trouble. It's the other way. He's getting off and being like, fucking result, we are in.
Yeah. I didn't really know what to make of this move, but I think he might have paid it off.
Yeah, and I thought it was a bad move, actually. When he signed the deal, I'm like, great move. And then as we saw what KTM did last year, it was like, ooh, shit, has he made the wrong move here? But now it's certainly looking like, okay, this looks like a good move. And the 44, let's just say it, looks pretty good on that Repsol Honda.
It does. So, I don't know. I think we could be in for shocker of the season here. But we will have to wait and see.
Will Pole win a race this year, Steve?
Yes.
Ooh, I'm actually going to go no, but I think he's going to be on the podium a lot.
I think if he wins a race this year, it will be a similar thing to Christ, now I've forgotten the guy's name. KTM.
Oliveira.
Big Oliveira's win last year. I think it could be a
sneaky... where he just mugs it. Imagine if he mugged it off Oliveira in the same way Oliveira mugged it off him in the last corner.
I'm going for he is going to mug it off. We'll use Oliveira in the same situation and Marquez's first potential win.
Oh, God, that would be juicy as fuck. Can you imagine?
Imagine that one?
Oh, I would like to see it as a Marquez Cortararo, though, rather than Marquez Oliveira.
I don't care who the other one is. It's just got to be Pole, Marquez, anyone else, Rossi.
My God, yes, that's the one. It's a Rossi. It's a Marquez Rossi into the last corner, and Pole just nabs it both. Yeah, that's the one, Steve. If that happens this year, my friend, I will buy you all of the drinks.
Thank you.
God, that would be a great race.
that was a work thought today. That was while I was fiberglassing, bored out of my brain. I'm like, what if? How many layers of fiberglass have I put on this? Shit. Put another one on.
Another one that it can't harm. Can you put too much fiberglass on a boat?
You can, yes.
Does it become too rigid and crack?
Sort of, yeah. You can make it too thick. There's got to be tolerances so you can make it too thick, and then you have to grind it off.
Oh, okay. I don't really know how fiberglass works. I just know it's layers of what is essentially paper mache.
Yeah, there's all different weights and ounces, and they're for different things. Structural, layup, choppies, all sorts.
It's a good job that you do your job and I don't, because I'd get very confused. I'd probably just be like, can I get high off this glue? Can I just sniff the fiberglass glue? Because I'm a bit bored and I can't do the counting.
We have some stuff at work, mate. It's called Hess. You would really like it. It is varnish that goes off within 5 minutes, and it goes off hard.
You know me so well. You would really like it.
Honestly, we're in a massive, massive workshop. Some of these yachts were built like 70 foot long. There's 6 or 7 of them in a row. It's a huge place. I could smell the shit 5 bays away. It's lethal, and it gives you a headache. Oh,
that's not the fun thing, Steve. I don't want the headache. I just want the fun trippiness.
You'll get that.
Anyway, Hondas. Before I incriminate myself too much here, Alex Marquez finished 18th overall. Actually, not the test I expected from Marquez.
No, I was quite shocked by his results, and I think so was his foot.
Yes, he had a very crashy test as well. I think he might have crashed about as much as Martin did. All of the Honda riders crashed, by the way. But yeah, Alex Marquez certainly crashed the most, and he did break a bone in his right foot. Only a small break. He will probably be fine when it comes to the race weekend, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Metatarsal, wasn't it, or something?
Which is a toe, isn't it? Or is that one of the bones in the foot?
It's just behind the toe.
Those long bones.
Yeah. If you imagine like where your toes join your main body, your foot is one of those just in the main body of your foot. There's a whole bunch of them. If you take a foot X-ray, there's like a mishmash of loads of bones.
Yeah. Okay.
It's one of them.
Okay, but it was only a small break, so hopefully he'll be fine.
Yeah. It should heal up fairly quick.
Cool. And then we'll have two Marquezes recovering from broken bones.
Yes, they'd be like, no, my break was worse than yours. Fuck off.
Mark's going to be like, fuck off, you Mark. I've literally been out for a year.
Yeah.
When's the last time you had a year off? And then the rest of us are like, it's been a year of COVID, mate. We've all had a year off.
Yeah, been on furlough, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Been bored waiting for you to come back, dickhead.
Yeah, he's basically had the same furlough year as most people.
He has, yeah. I bet he's been getting really good at Warzone.
And I bet he's been on more than fucking 80% pay.
I bet he has, yeah. I'd like to see him live on my 80% pay. Jesus.
Quite. Right, Taka Nakagami finished 12th overall. A reasonable test, but I actually expected a little bit more from him as well. But his race runs look okay. Yeah. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens with that one.
No. Unknown entity, Taka, I call him.
Unknown entity Taka. That's really not a nickname that rolls off the tongue, is it?
No, it's not. It's just... We've seen such glimmers of hope, and he's just, lit our hopes and dreams that he's going to just blaze it, and then all of a sudden it's just like Taka is back.
Yeah, quite. We'll see what happens. Was it Aragon? It was Aragon 2, wasn't it? The one that was like, oh my god, Taka could win a race. And
then he broke his heart. So.
Yeah, quite. But we'll see what happens. And speaking of a team, actually, Steve, that could make or break hearts this year, Aprilia. Oh my god, Aprilia have sort of blown me away a little bit, and I'm sort of. I know, like I am a big Aprilia hater. We are all aware of that, and it's not that I hate Aprilia. I try and make this very obvious, but people think I hate Aprilia. I don't hate Aprilia. I really would like Aprilia to do very well. I'd love to see Aprilia win a race. Imagine a year in which 6 manufacturers can win a race. How great would that be? But Aprilia in the last few years have had great tests, and then when it comes to the actual season, they just sort of crumble and exist at the back and don't do anything, and they're a bit boring. But I kind of think this might be a different story this year, at least for one of their riders.
Yeah, for the pleasure of everyone listening at home, when Tim talks about Aprilia, especially just now, my God, does he get animated?
I realised that I was kind of waving about a lot as I was talking then. I think one day, Steve, we're just going to have to start recording these shows as audio, video pieces as well as audio, because I do get quite animated sometimes, especially when I'm 3 or 4 beers in.
We both do. There's points we could tell which bits we're both really stoked to talk about, because I know that I have a habit of looking up. And I tend to look at the corner of my ceiling, and I'm trying to desperately get my words out and just make sense. And then you look like, you're on strings.
I wave my arms around a lot when I'm getting excited. I mean, I also know when I'm being boring, because I can see you start to nod off. And I'm like, oh God, I better bring this back.
Especially when I've had a whiskey on. Whoa.
Yeah, it's already been at least twice tonight.
Definitely not, mate. I'm enjoying this podcast. It's a really good one, actually. I'm enjoying this. Yes, Aprilia have done a lot, and like you say, they always do well at the tests, especially at Alatia, and it's been no different this year. They always do this every year. They light a glimmer of hope under us, and then, like you say, we get to the races, and it is just this situation where they are at the back and they can't just convert that testing pace into any kind of race pace, and we sit there, we're like, this is going to be the year I'm going to buy Aprilia merchandise. I am going to be happy that we are not going to talk about Aprilia first on every podcast of the year. We're going to talk about them second.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best we can ask for.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden we get to the races and we're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, Aprilia.
I guess in reference to that, to anyone that's joined us in listening during the off season that hasn't listened to our full season of us, when we go through the normal race review shows, we always start talking about the factory that performed the worst. We talk about them first, and then we bring our way down through the factories until we're talking about the best ones last, because it's nice to get the bullshit out of the way first. What I dub the Aprilia bullshit out of the way first, and then we can talk about the interesting things later on. But maybe this year, like you say, Steve, maybe this will be the one, and it looks like it could be. This Aprilia have literally an entirely new bike, a new engine, a new aero package, new salad box, new exhaust, carbon fiber swing arm.
It's
everything on this machine is new.
And it looked good as well.
I mean, just to look at
changes.
Exactly, just to look at, like, you and I, who are big fans of MotoGP, certainly big enough that we spend a Tuesday fucking evening just chatting 2 or 3 hours about motorbikes, and getting drunk and just chatting away. And even then, when we're not recording, we just text each other all the time. But we're not professionals in this. We are just big fans. But we can look at this machine and be like, whoa, there's huge visual changes on this. Like, it's visually a very different machine to last year.
Yeah, you don't have to be a genius to work out that these boys have put some elbow work in. They've done a lot. I really hope that they've done enough to make some significant changes, because they've hung around at the back of this grid for long enough. They've seen other teams come in after them and just have so much better results, and they've been stuck in the doldrums for so long. It is time for a change, and it looks like this year they've done enough to do it. But previous season's results to say we're going to be in for the same kind of drama.
That's the problem. And I also am a bit concerned with the fact we know Aleix Espargaro has done well. He's 6th overall on the timesheets. The race runs are good. Lorenzo Savadori's 26th. He's 20 places further back. He's 2 seconds off his teammate. Like, which one do we believe in the timesheets here? Lorenzo Savadori's injured. We know he's got an injured shoulder. But 2 seconds?
And Aleix has got a really bad habit of flattering things.
Aleix can bite the screen and put a fucking lap in.
Yeah, and when you're talking about overall results, you only need one fast lap in each test to really bump you up that order.
Yeah.
He is an incredible rider who is dedicated to the nines. Ultra fit, committed to whatever he does. You could put him on any bike, he will give you the same level of commitment. Even it could be a fucking shopping trolley with an engine in it, he'd get the best out of it.
Yeah.
And he flatters whatever he's on. So I'm just hoping that he hasn't gone out and found something that he can't convert into race day pace.
So what you've just said, when we say flatters whatever he's on, I think that's true up to a point. I think he flatters any back or mid-grid bike and makes it look faster than it is. I'm not convinced he would flatter a top-end machine. We saw him at Suzuki the year, obviously Vinales won his first race. Espargaro was his teammate, and Espargaro didn't score a podium. But you're right, in the lower tier machinery, he certainly flatters it. He can bite the screen, he can put a lap in. What I am finding quite is putting a lot of confidence in me for Aprilia is that they've been described a lot like the Ducati. It's a very physical bike. It's got a lot of top end. They're struggling with the same sort of things as Ducati. It's almost as if the Italian factories, and they look the same as well. Like they've got a similar shape.
Similar.
The aero is a bit different, but the overall shape is similar. And it's like the Italian factories are converging along the same path. It's almost like some weird convergent evolution going on in which they're going to find the same solution, but without ever sharing data. And that does lead me to believe maybe Aprilia can do it. Maybe it's not this year, but it feels closer this year than it's ever felt before.
Even if they take just a massive leap this year.
And constant top tens would be an amazing jump.
That would be an awesome jump. Just challenging that top 10 all the time would be a huge leap forward for them. If they could do that this year and then progressively build next year, the year after, then we're talking about a serious machine here. They've had opportunities to do it in the past and they haven't. And we've said previously, reset, start again. And that's what I'm really hoping they've done. This bike's virtually brand new. They've reset. This is it. This is where we go again. Aprilia 2.0, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hope for the best on these, because I am feeling optimistic for Aprilia. I'm cautiously optimistic because, and this is the last, I say it every year, Steve, but this is the last chance for me in Aprilia. If Aprilia do well, I'll buy some Aprilia merch this year.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. I would be up for some Aprilia merch because the latest stuff is actually pretty nice. But
I quite like the Aprilia hats, to be honest.
Yeah, I
quite like that.
Hats. Yeah, Aprilia to me are like, I don't know, when you used to secretly like watching your kid's sister's cartoons when you're a little bit older as a kid, and you just won't admit it. We all did it.
I really wondered where that one was going initially, Steve. I'm glad it ended with cartoons.
Yeah, we've all done it. We've all sat there and gone, this is shit, turn it over, but don't, because I really want to see what happens.
I can't even think of an example here, because I just, what would be an example of these cartoons? What was the Fairly Odd Parents? Odd Parents, Fairly Odd Parents, do, 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 do.
My God, we've gone down a whole different road, Tim singing.
Oh, God, what was that show? Shit.
I'm older than you, mate.
Yeah, you won't know it. It was the Nickelodeon show. Wands and Wings, floaty crowny things. It's odd. Was it Fairly Odd Parents? I think it might have literally been called Fairly Odd Parents. Great show. Great show, Steve. Definitely worth a watch.
Not a clue, mate.
Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Quickly.
Because I think I've maybe just embarrassed myself. It's been the Twilight references, then I was singing Nickelodeon songs. It's been a weird evening.
We've seen a whole different side to you tonight, mate.
I don't think people expect anything less of me. Did you know, Steve, Lorenzo Savadori is officially a rookie this year, which means he is in the running for Rookie of the Year?
He is, because it will be his first full season.
I didn't know this. This sort of blew my mind a little bit, and I feel like we should have done a show on him. Because we did a show on all of the other rookies, but we kind of left him out because he's already had 3 races or whatever it was.
We didn't officially know whether he'd be on the grid or a test rider.
Good save, my friend. This, Steve, is why you should be my lawyer, because you've just saved us.
I like law. I like law a lot. I'm going to study it.
There you go. Sack in the yacht building, my friend. Go and do yourself a law degree.
I'm going to keep doing the yacht building because I like it. But
okay, we do both. Should do both.
I could do both. I might do both. We'll see.
You need a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah,
2 kids,
God,
full-time job, law degree. Fuck.
Podcast. I don't get time. I've struggled to make time to do the notes.
Yeah, well, it happens.
We'll get there.
KTM. Anyway, let's dive into the last factory now, because obviously you've got work in the morning.
That don't matter.
KTM. It's a weird one for KTM, man. Like. We know KTM don't do well in Qatar, and we know that KTM's breakout season last year didn't involve any race at Qatar. So their data is very limited on a machine they know that works. But things aren't looking good, are they, at the moment? And I don't know whether it's track related. I don't know whether it's bike related. I like to think, and I hope, and I pray that it's track related. I hope that Qatar is just a bogey track, and it's going to fuck them.
Yeah.
But I'm worried for them, actually, Steve. Miguel Oliveira finished 16th, Brad Binder 17th, Petrucci 19th, and Lecuona 23rd.
I am really hoping that there was an underlining agenda here, that they all got together, this is how I play it in my head, and have said, right, this is what we're going to concentrate on. Do not worry about your fastest lap times. Build on this, work on this. This is what we want to see. And then we will work on race setup come Friday, Saturday.
Maybe, actually, to be fair, now they haven't said any of this. So again, this is just me speculating completely. But maybe you are right. Maybe it was we're testing. Come the final day, we're going to go out, we're going to put some laps in, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
And the final day was the sandstorm. So they couldn't go out. And then they're like, we think we could have got, let's have a look. Well, Oliveira was 16th as the fastest one, and he was 1.3 off the top time. 1.3 seconds off top time. Maybe they've got a second in hand that they never used. And maybe now, because the track was fucked on the last day, maybe they're sandbagging here. Maybe they're going, oh, you know what? No, I don't think we have got it. And then all of a sudden, come race week at Qatar, they're going to be, boom, out of the gates, a second faster than they were. They'll be in the top 6.
That's basically what my theory is. They had a massive agenda. They hit it. Last day got written off, and we'll see what they can actually do come the 26th.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I am actually of the opinion. That was a fun little speculation on my part. I'm actually thinking they just don't have the data. I think that the first week at Qatar is going to be fucking tragic for them. I think it's going to be really hard. I think they'll be good to get in the top 10, any of them. However, as we saw from KTM last year, when they spend 2 weeks at a track and 2 race weekends at a track, the second one is way, way faster. So although I think it would be good to get one of them in the top 10 in the first week, I think it would be a poor performance if all 4 of them weren't in the top 10 in the second week.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
But we'll have to see. It seems to be tough. They weren't testing anything new, really. They were, from what we could see, it was like the aero parts and stuff, but not much changed from the first 2 days of testing to the second 3 days.
No. Minor changes. There's something going on there. They're not going to come with a test and not test. Simple as.
We know they've got a new engine, to be fair. They've got a new engine, and Danny Pedrosa was out as well. I would also like to say that the times we've been talking about, we've just been talking about the full-time riders. We've not talked about any test riders. And I was going to talk about the test riders, but then I got very confused with Yamaha because they've just got like test rider 1, 2, and 3, and it's very confusing as to who's who. So I decided to scrap all test riders. Let's just talk about the full-time riders.
I was watching the time in past times from one day, and I was just like, who is this?
Yeah, who is Test 2?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm on social media trying to find who the fuck's Test 2? And then
the problem is Test 2 was a bike, but Test 2 was being ridden by 3 different riders.
Exactly. I was just like, oh, for Christ's sake. Like you at the end, I was like, I'll just give up. I can't be bothered. And that was it.
Yeah, you're like, done. Not dealing with bullshit anymore. Dorner.
This is too hard.
Yeah.
Put a name on it. Test 2, 46. Test 2, 12.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it was only the Yamaha test riders that were all on the test 1, 2, 3. So it would be.
They were just the first numbers that came to my mind.
The 2 Japanese guys whose names I cannot remember, and Cal Crutchlow.
Yeah. That was it. They were just the first numbers that came in my head for Yamaha, so we just chucked them in there.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And I think that pretty much then brings us towards the end of the show, Steve. We're kind of there now.
Pretty much there.
I thought this was going to be a short show. I thought you and I were going to chat for an hour and then we'd be done.
We don't do short shows.
It turns out we don't do short shows anymore, Steve. We used to do a lot of shows that were like 45 minutes long, done and dusted. I'll be interested to see when we start racing again what happens to the length of these shows, because they've all been pretty long.
I think because it's news and we've got the opportunity to flow and go off on tangents a bit more, that we've just chatted.
Yes, exactly.
I think when we get to the hot topic of racing, we're going to fire it through a bit quicker because we've got a small block of 40 minutes of racing. We know what's going on, and it's going to roll off the tongue and be a nice, easy to listen to show for an hour, 40 minutes.
Maybe. I'm not convinced, mate. I think we're just committing to these long shows now. It's also just occurred to me, speaking of long shows, I was just thinking, we've done some long shows recently. Fuck, we did that marathon intro to MotoGP show.
That was good.
And then I was like, I just remembered I was supposed to say to people at the start of this show, and if you've never watched MotoGP before, check out our intro to MotoGP show, which I forgot to do, so my bad. But if you've never watched MotoGP before and got an hour and 45 minutes into a show about MotoGP and you want to know more, go back to our intro show, which will just be a couple of episodes before this one. You'll find it. Long show. I'm very drunk in that. Check it out.
He doesn't sing in that one, which is a shame.
Yeah, I don't make a habit of singing in the show, Steve. Maybe I should. Maybe that'll be a new selling point for us.
That could be. We could get you a disco light behind you.
There's definitely room in it. In fact, I've actually got, you can't see it from where you are.
Don't tell me you've got a disco ball.
Nah, well, yeah, one up in, you can't see it even if I move the camera. Up in the top of the window, there is a disco ball there. It's only a little one, and it looks great when the sun hits it. But yeah, we could get a couple of laser pens on that and disco the room up a little.
Do you a little karaoke machine? We're away.
Oh, God, can you imagine? For the love of MotoGP does karaoke. God, that'd be terrible. What would be your karaoke song of choice, Steve?
I don't know. I'm kind of a living on a prayer, man. No one could sing Bon Jovi like Bon Jovi.
It was going to be my exact answer. Would be a Bon Jovi, wouldn't it? Because you
It's
can just scream it into the mic.
Yeah, especially when you're like absolutely off your tits at the office party.
Yeah,
that's the way to roll it. Especially if you're new.
Oh, that's it. You just get trolleyed and you commit to the karaoke.
Yeah, you just hog it all night, and come the new year, you roll back into work, and everyone loves you just for your commitment to the karaoke.
Or they fucking hate you, and at that point, you don't want that job anyway. So
no, you realise you don't like it. You're like, fuck you, I'm out the door.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, a Bon Jovi is a good one. I don't know what mine would be actually. Ooh. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Cherie always does Careless Whisper. That's her choice. Always Careless Whisper. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm with you. I think I'd be a Bon Jovi or some form of power ballad. Maybe a Journey. Maybe I'd be Journey. Yeah.
A little bit Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It would depend where I was though, because if I was in a karaoke bar that was like, here's like, alternative music from 2004 to 2015, have your pick, I'll be like, fucking banging, this is me. And I'd be well away, but that's not a reality in most karaoke bars. Anyway, This isn't a relevant tangent. Doesn't mean anything, Steve. Let's carry on. We're nearly at the end of the show, so we'll just dive in. Guys, we have the Fantasy League is set up and ready to go.
It's there.
We are there. We're done. We're set up. At last check, we set it up, 4 hours ago, and we had 6 or 7 people joined up already. So you can just go to the MotoGP website, the official website, MotoGP.com. From there, navigate to the Game Hub section, choose Fantasy League, and then enter this code. It's 79WJKYN7. However, don't worry about that because I will drop a link including that code into the show notes. Just click the link, you'll join. You will have to sign up, but it'll be good fun. It was good fun last year. I very much enjoyed it. Steve beat me last year, which is pretty annoying. But we're going to commit to it again this year, and prizes this year, guys. Top 3 places will get prizes. Prizes will be announced later on. I already know what they're going to be, but I don't want to tell any of you because it's more fun this way, because I feel like I have an element of power about it. Steve also knows what they're going to be, so Steve's in the same element of power as I am. It's a joy for us all. That's pretty much it for the show, Steve. We'll have the Fantasy League. Yep. Good stuff. So, guys, if you have anything you want to say to us, any questions for us, any comments, please, guys, make the show shorter things you want to say to us, then you can do so, and you can find us on.
We are For the Love of MotoGP. You can look us up on Instagram and Twitter, or come and join our Facebook community. Just go on Facebook and search For the Love of MotoGP community. We also have a Facebook page if you want to subscribe to that as well. Or drop us an email. We are fortheloveofmotogp@gmail.com.
Look at that, Steve.
It's rolling again, mate.
Smooth as fuck, mate. I'm very impressed.
It's rolling. I'm going to fuck it up next week now.
That's fine. I'd be more than happy with that. Every time you get it bang on right, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I always get a little sweaty when I'm doing it as well. I was like, don't get it wrong. People will point it out to me if I get it wrong. It's like a floodgate opens on all the social medias. It's like, Steve fucked it up again.
Yeah, we even get emails to tell us when you get it wrong, and I enjoy that. I enjoy it. It pleases me.
I can't remember now.
We had a couple of emails about it.
Yeah.
George emailed about it, and there was a couple more.
Oh, bastards.
So that's it, Steve. We're done today. So, guys, thank you very, very much for listening. Do me a solid, actually, guys, before we just go. If you can leave a rating, a review, wherever you're listening to the show, that would be great. No pressure, but it would be nice if you did. Cool. And we will be back next week. Next week, Steve, will be the final show before we get to see fucking racing, mate. I cannot wait. I'm so excited now. I'm really, like, this top of this show, I was talking about how I'm feeling pretty down about the world. I'm feeling pretty depressed, and I'm pretty fed up because I think the world's a load of bullshit.
But
and I think people are pretty horrible. But MotoGP makes me feel better. I'm looking forward to the racing because it's an escape from the bollocks.
Exactly.
And it's just a fun way to spend the weekend, and then I get to get drunk and talk with you and with all of you guys at home as well, and then we get to interact throughout the week on Facebook, within the Facebook group, and it's great, and it makes me feel better. I don't do this for any other reason than to just make me feel better about my own life. So
this is therapy, basically.
Yeah, this is the cheapest way I could possibly find to do therapy, guys. So if you can all help me out with that, that would be great.
Basically, this is group therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And if any of you guys want to join for group therapy, come and join the Facebook group, and it's all in there. It's a barrel of laughs, guys. So anyway, thank you all very, very much for listening. Stay safe out there, guys. Look after each other. Remember, elbow bumps, fist bumps. We ignore the handshakes. We're not doing those anymore. Wear your face masks. Mask it or casket, guys. Goodbye.
Take care, guys.
Music is by Andrew Greenwood. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.